Ava, I'm so delighted to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to those of you that are joining us wherever you're joining us from around the world. Today is a very special day because it's not only National Book Lovers Day, but it's also the kickoff of Global Book Lovers Week. And
Dr. Joe, this is live. This is live. And what we're saying is, Margaret Steele is someone who's like bringing the magic and the legacy of magic, writing back about like women, for example, in magic that people would have never known because it's been a century ago. And Connie is writing a book and it's actually finished, but it's in the process of 17 women in magic who people would never find out about, except that now she's written about them. And it's in a book now. So you're now surrounded by women
Love it.
in magic. And
I
I'm just going
love
to
it.
step
Bring it
down. I know
in.
you're leaving, but I just wanted to make this magical moment complete.
It's ongoing. It's not complete. It's not ended. It's ongoing. I
thank you
love
so
you
much.
all.
Thank you, Dr. Joe.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Dr. Joe.
What a powerful segment. And Margaret and Connie, we appreciate you for joining. And Diana, you were sharing something earlier, and you were talking about the Magic Castle and the junior program that you created at the Magic Castle. And just wanted to share that there is a gentleman, his name is Kavi Fakir, and he joined the Magic Castle program when he was just 15 years old.
Right. Yeah.
And he now has a new magic residency at Hotel Perla, one of Marriott's autograph collection properties in Los Angeles. And that confidence that you were talking about, it really inspired him and his craft. And he's had the opportunity to share magic with NBA players like LeBron James, with actors like Jamie Foxx to mesmerize them. And a lot of his joy and confidence, in addition to all of the work that he did, was because of that confidence that he gained at the Magic Castle Junior program. And so it is just beautiful to see the ripple effect that the work that you've done has had on individuals, particularly young individuals' ability to see beyond, to see what is possible, and to expand their mindsets. And Connie, I know that you're a big advocate of magic, and Margaret, you are too. But that moment, I had the opportunity, happenstance, to just bump into Kavi, and when we were talking about the Magic Castle, and to see his face just light up with joy.
Well, I think this is the magic of these kinds of things, and sports does this, and music does this, but there's something very special about magic, and it's a collective society. And first of all, Hikabi is an absolutely brilliant performer.
Whoops, we lost Diana.
We lost Diana. Okay, she's back.
Getting
I'm so sorry.
Getting that confidence. Wait, we're back. Hold it.
We're back.
Getting that kind of confidence to come out and be who you really are, because all of us, every single one of us, there's not a kid that's gone through this program that hasn't had the ability to conquer the world and do incredible and amazing things. And I think that one of the greatest things about the program right now is the fact that when we started the program, we had 100 kids audition, and they were all boys. And there weren't, because there were like 3 women magicians in the world. This is where Connie and Margaret are so incredibly important in what they do. But what happened was that as magic got out there, as I performed more, as women, Dorothy Dietrich, another wonderful contemporary of mine, as we performed more and more women started having role models, because that's a lot of the reason why there weren't more women. Connie became a major star. Margaret has done just extraordinary things to bring back some of the greatest woman magician that ever lived, probably, and bring her back to life. So all of this is so positive, and yet magic still is what, Connie, a 96 point 96% male dominated. It's probably the highest male dominated of any profession that I know of. I mean, there's lawyers, there's this, but with people like Connie and Margaret, and hopefully myself with the program, we're able to allow women to go into a profession that is so built for women to do. It's so, because it requires every skill. Magic requires intelligence, it requires passion, it requires determination, but it also teaches all these things better than anything I've ever learned in my life or seen in my life. So thank you, Alicia, for saying that. And thank you for recognizing Kathy. So he's just a fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Yeah.
Yes, he is. And thank you for all that you do. And I'm actually going to step back here, and I would love for Connie and Margaret and you and Diana to have a conversation about the mindset expansion and the possibilities that magic.
Well, I am so honored to be on the same screen as you and as two of my personal women heroes. So,
So Diana, my request is, just as Dr. Joe interviewed you, would you do the honors of interviewing our two women who are authors and legacy scribers of the magic community as much as you also do?
I would be so honored to do that. I have to start by saying that probably there is no more important historian than Connie Boyd in the 20th century. I mean, for just women, for magic, for everything, because what she has done, and Margaret the same thing, is what Connie has done is Connie has brought back not just women's stories, but if you could read, and when her book comes out, you'll read it, and we'll talk some more about that. But the struggles that women go through, the struggles that I went through, the laughter that we got, the putting down by a male-dominated community, it was a struggle for all of us. It was a major struggle. I mean, I used to come home some nights crying from the Magic Castle because I was just made fun of and laughed at, and the jealousy. It was mainly jealousy. And it's not just true of women magicians. Any group of people can do that. But what Connie and Margaret have done has been, I just want the audience to understand that the books that they've written and the articles that they've written are so incredibly important to inspire, not if you want to be a magician, but just to inspire about being successful, a writer, a script writer, doesn't matter, a doctor, a nuclear physicist. So Connie, Margaret, Connie, tell us a little bit about the book that you're working on. Oh my goodness.
Well, for many of the readers or the people listening today, you probably don't know much about me unless you're in the magic industry. And I've been in magic for over 35 years, and I dancer and a little bit of fate. I had injuries, and I evolved.
Wait, I'm going to stop you there. She didn't just have injuries. She destroyed 2 careers because come on, you have to tell us a little bit more about what you did to change careers. Don't stop there. Go
yes. Okay. So as a class ballerina, I developed tendonitis. So I did an audition and I ran away and joined the circus, as you would. And then I was at the Houston Astrodome, and a piece of rigging broke. I was hanging by my jaw, flying to the trapeze, and a piece of rigging broke at the back of the swing, and I plummeted to my feet and shattered both feet. And so I always joke that's when I decided to become a magician, but I actually decided to become a magician in Las Vegas, where I had the honor of watching a wonderful artist. He was a magician and a puppeteer, and his name was Barclay Shaw. And I was mesmerized by his magic, and he inspired me to this world of wonder. But I
think we've frozen there. I think Connie is frozen. Hopefully we can, her internet, I know she's in Canada, so she was telling me she has a little bit tough on that. Well, Margaret, when we get Connie back, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, because you have been equally as amazing to bring.
Do we have Connie?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
we have Connie back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So sorry. It is live. So long story short, I discovered magic, and I found a calling that I truly love, and I had the ability to provide wonder and provide opportunities to other magicians. And I became a director, a producer, a creator of magic shows. And then the pandemic hit, and I decided that I would become a documentarian, and I would document women in magic. And that led to writing, which led to writing this book. So I think for the people listening, I probably the thing that I think would be most inspirational to you is that when life throws you a challenge or an obstacle, and this is an occurring theme through all of the magicians that we are exposed to in the book and in the stories I tell, they have found some positive within this horrible negative, and somehow they survived. And if you refer to Margaret and her book with Adelaide Herrmann, this is a woman in the 1800s, and she was able to succeed as a lead performer at a time when women in society were pretty well controlled. And yet she was a leading figure. And so I think that all of these stories inspire not just magicians, but it's just overcoming obstacles. It's just a wonderful power that you hold into your hands. And that leads to me to the title of my book, The Power of Magical Women.
And Margaret, tell us a little bit more about why you got interested in writing about Adelaide. And first of all, tell us a little about your background so people can understand how amazing you are. And Connie, that was incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I actually started in magic much later than most people do. I was in my 30s already, and I was already a professional classical musician. And I discovered magic as part of music education, because most music education shows with symphony orchestras were very boring. But if you added a little magic, all of a sudden the kids were paying attention. So that was really my start. But I was looking for a role model, and there were very, very few role models that I could find. And the ones that I could find didn't suit what I was looking for. There was this wonderful magician from the mid-20th century named Dell Odell, who was incredibly successful. She was a comedy magician, which wasn't really my thing. But she's been a great role model for female comedy magicians. And then there were sultry lead showgirl types. I mean, I want to say it a little bit better than that, but women that were, if you got it, use it, and women that were exploiting their sexuality on stage and their beauty and their looks and
Connie and I.
Exactly. It's true. But that wasn't me either, especially starting in my 30s. So I was looking for something more elegant and mature and musical, and I really couldn't find anybody. And then it's way too long a story to tell here.
No, go on. This is
I created an act that was a musical magical act, silent magic to music. I just used the skills I had, which is music is what inspires me. And I did have some success with this act. I performed it at magic conventions, and I did perform it at the Magic Castle in the late 90s. And then there was this incredible fateful meeting in August 2000, exactly 25 years ago. I performed for a show in Oakland, California, the Oakland Magic Circle, which is a very, very old and distinguished magic organization, was having its 75th anniversary. And I performed, and afterwards a gentleman came up to me with tears in his eyes, and he said, "I feel as though Adelaide Herrmann came back to perform tonight just for me." That man was James Hamilton, the late James Hamilton, and he was the leading authority on the Herrmann dynasty of magicians, which had been pretty much forgotten. But Alexander Herrmann, who was the husband of Adelaide Herrmann, is considered by many the world's greatest magician. He was prior to Houdini, and Houdini has kind of blocked out all the light, so we don't see the people that came before him. Houdini actually asked Herrmann for a job at one point. That's how much Houdini admired him. But I did not realize that I had pretty much recreated Adelaide Herrmann's act.
Wow.
And there have been all these strange coincidences ever since then. James Hamilton opened up his research to me. I was the first person to whom he opened up his Adelaide Herrmann research. But since he was in San Francisco and I was in New York, I had access to the East Coast resources that he really didn't. The New York Public Library, Harvard, Library of Congress. And I started discovering things about her. She'd been totally forgotten, yet she was a huge star in her own day. She was as big a star as Houdini in her own day.
She was bigger than her husband, I believe, right?
What happened was that he suddenly died in the middle of a tour, and she stepped into the lead role and took over the show, which was absolutely unheard of. And that was how she got her start as a magician.
And give us, what year was this? This was
He died in 1896.
So think about this, audience.
Yes.
The 1800s.
Yes.
Here's a woman who's in the shadow of one of the greatest magicians that ever lived, one of the greatest performers, one of the greatest, whatever you want to do it. You can take the word magic out if you want. She all of a sudden stepped up. She started running the business. She started doing this. And think about what that was like back then.
Right.
When women didn't even have the right to vote.
Right.
You know, I'm
no.
sorry. Yeah.
And she had a lot of trouble with the male assistants who did not want to,
Been there.
want her telling them what to do.
Been there.
Yeah. So she performed for another 30 years. She became a star of vaudeville after that. She was the only woman magician in vaudeville. And she called herself the only woman magician in the world, but she wasn't. Like Connie and I will talk about later, there were actually quite a few more, but the issue isn't their existence. The issue is that they had a lot of trouble getting written about and getting exposure, which means that once they are out of the scene, and also there's a lot of ageism in magic as well, of course, in the performing in any entertainment field. But what happens is that women that are performing get aged out of the business before the younger women can see them. And that used to happen, and hopefully that's not happening as much anymore. But as soon as I started studying Adelaide Herrmann, I started finding references to a memoir that she wrote that had never appeared. So, and the magic history community had decided that she never ever wrote it, but I knew she wrote it because she'd read parts of it to people. And she was that kind of person. When she said she was going to do something, she did it. So I searched for this for 10 years. And then finally in 2010, her memoir did finally surface and I published it. And this is the first edition looked like this. But I'm about to publish.
Yeah, hold it up a little bit higher so we can see it. There you go.
I'm about to publish. Well, this is out of print now. I'm about to publish a new edition of it with 13 years more new research and new knowledge and actually more insight into her. So that's going to be coming out early next year. But that's just a little bit about her. She was known as the Queen of Magic. She did a lot more than just. She and her husband invented the Grand Illusion show. So she doesn't get any credit for that. We're going to give her credit for that. But
even if you're not interested in magic, let me reiterate again. These stories are so much bigger than that because they're also, let me also say, they're also bigger than just women. They're true for men and women because for all of us that want to succeed as an author like I did, or now I'm working on screenwriting, I'm working on several projects. I just had one option and it's about building that confidence in yourself. Mm-hmm. And by reading these stories and understanding these stories, whether you're a man or a woman, you realize the odds that these people had, the odds that I had, the odds that Connie had, the odds that you had, Margaret, and any of the women in magic, Dorothy Dietrich, any of the women in magic that go back, for all these years. I mean, there was an incredible touring black magician, lady magician, who took over for her father's show, who risked hanging to bring education to school kids.
Ellen Armstrong.
Yeah, Ellie. Yeah, that's right. I always forget her name. Yeah, Armstrong. And an amazing lady. These stories, God for Connie and Margaret, because these stories would have been completely washed away. I mean, you've got, just incredible. But Connie, go ahead and talk a little bit more about the book, because I want people to know what this book is, and not to miss their opportunity to read it. And also Margaret's new book when it comes out. I can't wait to get a copy of it.
So the book that I'm releasing this year is called The Power of Magical Women, and it showcases 70 women in magic, contemporary female magicians. And then that leads to a second book that I'm going to publish with Margaret's publishing company, which is Floating Lady Publishing, and that's going to be the historic women in magic. So as a part of my project, and I innocently started this, I had no idea where I was going. And I think that lends to you, Diana. You really don't know where your magic road is going to take you. You just find the opportunities. And if you have passion and interest, then and you're willing to work with other people, find a good core team so that you will be able to work with others that you trust, that will help you to grow, particularly in areas that maybe perhaps you're not proficient yet. And so I think those things are really, really vital.
I think that's important across the board, whether you're writing a book on whether you're writing a fantasy adventure book, or whether you're writing a marketing book or biography. That is those words are so important. You don't know where you're going. Writing is your foundation. It's not your ceiling. By working, what you just said, Connie, is so, I just want to hammer that home. Find people that know. Ellen Steiber turned me into a great writer. And I don't say that out of ego. I say that because I had one of the best teachers in the world. If I would have become angry and said, well, what do you know? Whatever, and gotten defensive about it. But instead, like you did, like Margaret Stone, listen to what people have to say. You don't necessarily have to take your advice. In fact, Ellen started out by saying that to me. Dinah, you don't have to take my advice. I'm just going to tell you what I've learned over 20 years of story editing. There are so many people that will help you become a great author or help you sell your books. Like I sold 25,000 copies by literally going to schools and speaking, 100,000 copies going to schools and speaking at schools, because as Willie Sutton says, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. I went to schools because that's where the kids are that buy my books, and I never charged the kids to speak. And so when you have whatever that is, so listen to what Connie and Margaret are saying, because it's true. I don't care what you're writing about, dogs, whether you're writing about, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think if you have passion for it, and I must say that Margaret is part of my team. Diana, you're part of my team, and Margaret suggested a fabulous editor, and that editor changed the book. And finding a good editor that's willing to work with you and understand your story, and that was a game changer for me. So I think people involved in the literary field, finding, like I say, you can't have a strong team is your foundation and your passion. You have to be able to, work through all of the obstacles, because it's hard work, hard graft. All of the people that have written books here, it's not easy to get
it. And selling it is even harder. Selling a book is even harder. So when you write a book, your work is just beginning when the book is published. That's the easy part, really. I had to figure out how am I going to sell my books? Where is my audience? How am I going to do this? And something that we talked with Joe about earlier is you're going to need to speak. You're going to need to speak to people. Go to every single Elks Club, Moose Club, public library, anywhere that there's people assembled, and go there and learn to talk. Tell them you'll speak for free. Come and, offer your services to talk about your book and get it out there, and go to book fairs. And, that's the way that you get, for the authors in the audience, that's the way that you get your book sold, and post on social media, which wasn't around when I first wrote my books, but now, of course, it's so important. Margaret, let's get back to you a little bit, so you can talk a little bit about the distribution of your books and what's going to happen in the new book and all the exciting stuff that's going to happen. Thank you. Connie is amazing.
Connie is amazing. Connie and I, we actually complement each other very well because we fill in each other's strengths. Well, we'll talk about that later, probably. Yeah. So the new book is the new Adelaide Herrmann book, but I'm still very much, promoting and my other Herrmann book, which is The Great Boomski, which has a lot about Adelaide in it. And in fact, in Adelaide's memoir, she told the story she wanted to tell, and she didn't tell all the embarrassing stuff about, when she got arrested for slapping a police officer and the feuds and the fights and she only and all the people that she didn't say nice things about in her day. She says only nice things about in her memoir. So, but this book is a Herrmann book, even though you don't know it when you first see it, because Boomski was the name of the assistant of Alexander Herrmann, the boy assistant, which was actually based on Alexander Herrmann's own role as a child assistant to his older brother. And when they formed that partnership, the child assistant role became indispensable in the act because the child could get away with all sorts of stuff because, as we say in magic, there was no heat on him. And, nobody suspects a child. Children can do amazing things. Children can do incredible mind reading acts. If you've ever tried to play a memory game with a child, you always lose, So when Alexander Herrmann married Adelaide, she played the boy assistant. She dressed like a boy. This was an indispensable role. But she got tired of doing that because she was a glamorous, beautiful dancer, and she wanted to do the glamorous, beautiful assistant role. So he began hiring a series of African-American boys, some of them as young as age 11. And he trained them as the assistant, and it became a slapstick role with even less heat on them. So they got away with murder. And they many of them took this training and went on with it and became famous and successful magicians and entertainers themselves at a time when there was pretty much zero opportunity for African Americans in any field, and especially in entertainment. And this is the story of those young men and what became of them. And it's the whole story is supported on the backbone of the Herrmann shows. So it's each of them experiencing and also seeing the Herrmann company through their eyes. So that's what this book is.
In all your writing, this is so amazing. You're so amazing, Margaret. In all your writing, what do you think gave Adelaide, or what did you discover about her that actually gave her the confidence and the ability to take on this show? I mean, from what I understand, every single one of her people around her, including a lot of the assistants, they didn't want to listen to her. They didn't believe in her. How do you think, from reading all of her stuff and everything, because this will be great for the audience to learn this, how did she overcome that, in your opinion?
I think she was born that way. She had it going out of the gate. She was the one whose family told her she couldn't go on stage, and she snuck off and took dance classes and did auditions and got a job on her own when she was 15, so, and she always had that. And I know that when she was married to Alexander, she was always trying to give advice that they wouldn't listen to. But when she did step to the head of the company, she did have a core group around her that did support her, a very small core group. But she had to deal with this her whole career. One of her assistants was Joe Besser, who was ended up being one of the Three Stooges.
Oh my goodness.
He didn't last long at all. He couldn't handle her telling him anything. And he had nothing good to say about her. And she had this reputation for being really tough and hard to deal with. But that was simply because she was trying to get it right and trying to,
Right.
But,
and for the time also, it was unheard of. She was doing something that was,
Absolutely.
I think that, that brings up a very good point, Connie. Forgive me for interrupting, Margaret. That brings up a really good point. Have you found a common thread in the ladies that you've written about, how they overcame these things? Is there a common thread in all of them? Like your story, how you overcame, I mean, one tragedy after another, one devastating tragedy after another. Is there a common thread that you found? Because I know I used to get accused of being a bitch too, you know, and stuff like that. And of course, men didn't want to listen to me,
Yeah.
so I would defer to my husband. And when I was actually the one that designed the prop and tricks and everything, but 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 do you find that thread throughout the women, or is there a thread that, or something similarity that you notice?
What I've noticed is there's a general theme of overachievers and proving that they belong, and working harder, and so that there can be beyond a shadow of a doubt that they have achieved that place for the right reasons, at the right time. And if you consider, there are magicians that are right now, they're using their magic abilities for greater good. They're in India and Africa, and they're literally trying to change society and a mindset to influence magically, just through their curiosity and wonder that they're able to create with simple things like sponge balls. They're able to engage and make a memorable impression.
Tell us a little about Lisa Mena. You bring up a really good point.
Lisa Mena. Well, if I think of, there's three in the book that are really important. There's Anchal from India, Lisa Mena, who is American, and Chanel Monroe, who is a Métis Canadian magician, and Métis Aboriginal Canadian magician. And all three of them, in different ways, are using their magic for greater good. Lisa has gone to third world countries, and she has used her magic skills to promote better quality of water and to promote better quality of behavior with women.
Cause to Wonder.
Yeah, it's called Cause to Wonder, and it's just remarkable.
Say that again. Cause, like in
Cause to Wonder, and her name is
exactly.
Lisa Mena. And she is, she's lectured at the United Nations. She is just a formidable, highly intelligent, highly skilled magician. And yet she goes under these grassroots, horrific conditions, that like extreme backpacking with, she will, instead of vanishing a ball, she vanishes a stone. And that's one of her premises when she enters a village, is to try to bring a little lightness. Also, she's an older woman, and by older, I mean she's over in her 40s, mid 50s. And so they see her not as a threat. And those are the two elements that allow her to go to these villages and to communicate. And she'll take a stone and make it vanish into a child's stomach and reappear out its bottom. And that causes laughter. And then laughter causes relaxation. And then everybody sort of drops their stones and they become engaged. And
she also uses the magic word to be kind to women.
Yes.
As a magic word. And she gets the kids shouting, be kind to women, because women are terribly abused in a lot of
good luck.
Helping women.
And she's actually changed.
Yeah.
She's actually changed. Be kind to women, you know, and she's actually changed the way some of these people treat women, and the way the kids treat women, and the way, you know, if you abuse women, you'll bring bad luck.
And she learns in their dialect.
Right.
And so it's just remarkable. Anchal is from India, where they have a dowry system to this day. And there's bride burning. And she has done numerous illusions where she promotes anti-bride burning. And she's a young Indian girl that's promoting it at the time. So that's really powerful. And it's also very brave. You know, she's in her culture, the type of magic and illusion show that she's presenting is unheard of. And she's setting a fine example for, you know, many, many women. And then we have Chanel. There's a high percentage of suicide within the Aboriginal communities. And so she does a lot of lectures and talks about trying to helplines and trying to use magic for positivity and to encourage confidence. And and just to try to break through that barrier that has existed for a long time. And then I can go on and on about world champion magicians that we have, and there are dozens and dozens. I would like to say Leah Kyle just placed first at FISM. Now, FISM is the Magic Olympics of, it's very, very important. If you are FISM first, there are only 3 women in the world that have And just this July, she placed first in general magic, which is the most difficult category. And it just, if you could imagine how good she had to be, because women in magic are a niche of a niche market. The Boomskis, all of those wonderful magicians, they're underrepresented. And yet, if you look at the quantity of quality performers that have, I mean, the odds are against them, and yet they have won. They're the winners, and that's
and they win. They win. I want to add into this because I think it's very, very important. They don't win because they're women. They win because they're absolutely extraordinary. When I was entering into the Pacific Coast Association Magic Contest when I was 13, I won my first award when I was 13. I won my second award when I was 15. I won my third award when I was 17 or 16, I guess. And they finally stopped me from entering because they said it wasn't fair. And I go, why? And they go, because you keep beating the boys, so we're not going to let you enter anymore. But the fact of the matter is, I was better than them. I mean, I was a better performer. I was better skilled. And so these aren't just women that are winning, because they're Madame Herrmann was actually a better performer than her husband was. She was actually more skilled. She was a better businesswoman. And
Oh, definitely.
That's one of the reasons that she succeeded. Connie Boyd was an incredible performer. I mean, she starred on Las Vegas and performed all over. And it wasn't because she did the beauty of magic. It was because she was magic. She was incredible. And Margaret was also a brilliant performer. So I do want to just make sure that people understand. Prejudice, though, in any organization, I remember interviewing Chris Angel one time, and Chris has been, the butt of a lot of jokes and made fun of. He's a wonderful personal friend of mine and one of the greatest performers today. And I asked him, Chris, because he gets made fun of a lot. Any niche market, you're going to have those that are jealous and those that are things. Writers are the same way. I remember, listening to a really famous writer talk, and somebody was saying, yeah, well, his stuff is pop fiction, and so we all have this that we have to live with of being put down. And I think, again, going back to reading both of your books, is so important, because success is hard. Success is just hard, and it takes more than just talent. Talent is one of the least things you need. I mean, that sustains you. But whether you want to be a writer or an actor or a best-selling author, I had a best-selling book, 25,000 copies, and I didn't even know how to write. So it certainly wasn't that. But the story was amazing, and I think Ava is coming back to see us now.
Oops. Mute button. This has been so magical. I want our audience to know how rare this is, that we are listening to three of the greatest magical women just converse amongst each other, especially around, authorship and legacy and women's rights and service, through magic. One of our special thought leader editions, actually I have one behind me, but that's the thought leader edition. This one is the women in leadership edition right there. And we did months and months of research of women who did not get credited for the work that they've done, because either they were relegated to be the wife or the assistant or researcher, and they were never given credit for the work that they did. And this title of the title of this part is Legacy Renewed. And we credited them back the credit that they weren't given. So that's Legacy Renewed there. And so we featured 78 women who have, who just have disappeared. They've done work. They've, written things behind. They've done, a lot of the different researches also, and a lot of the, laboratory work and things like that. But they were not accredited in the work, or they were not given credit, or not even paid for the work that they do. And, what you're doing, Margaret and Connie and Diana, is so, so powerful and so important, because all of the stories that you were telling a while ago, Connie, I just have goosebumps everywhere as you tell them about the things that they're doing and how they're using magic to change culture, to influence society in a positive way. And, as women, it's not the role of favoritism, but it really is the balance of nature, right? Women are just built to, be the nurturers. And when we step into our superpower, even in magic, we care, we nurture, we balance things out. And it's so beautiful that you all three are like really using your voice and the power of this. And so I we are coming into a close. We've got our next speakers, but I wanted to give you, 30 seconds to a minute each. What would be your encouragement to authors out there, to aspiring authors out there, or even aspiring performers? I'd love to have you give your closing remarks. And let's start with Diana.
Well, again, don't quit. Just keep writing, keep performing. It's hard. The hardest part is selling yourself and building that confidence that you can do it and understanding that people succeed every day. The only way you're going to fail is if you don't keep doing it. I mean, it took me, years to be able to build my company. I built a business. Everybody laughed at me about that. So no matter what your dream is, listen to what Joe Vitale said. Listen to these people, because absolutely you can do it. You can become a best-selling author. You can. But surround yourself with, this is the most important thing that I think you can do. Surround yourself with people that believe in you. Surround yourself with people that believe that you're the greatest thing ever. That's not ego. That's survival. And if you do that, that's how I built my companies. I always say, surround yourself with people that are smarter than you and almost too nice to say so, like Ellen Stiver.
That is so powerful. Margaret, thank you so much, Diana. Margaret, let me hear your closing remarks.
Well, basically what Diana said. But, I just, this is my first, The Great Boomski is my first book. Adelaide's memoir is her book with my own commentary, but The Great Boomski is the first book I ever wrote. And, I'm in my 70s now, and I was in my 60s when I started it. It's 25 years of research and 5 years of writing. But when I started it, I really didn't know if I could write a book. And I just started and I just did it. And I think the moral of that story is that if you have a story in you, you can write it. You need to know what you want to say.
Yeah.
You just don't write a book for its own sake. You write a book because you have a great story to tell, and you want to tell it the best way you can tell it. So you want to work with great editors and get great feedback. And one thing I think is that many people are in such a rush to get their book out, they put it out too soon. And I really think that to just let that extra time mellow. There were facts that came in at the last minute for Boomski, things that wouldn't have made it into the book. But just really give yourself the time to get it absolutely right, and know that if you have a story, you can do a book.
Yeah, that's great. That's so beautiful. So beautiful.
Thank you so much. I actually had to bring everybody on the screen because I could see Diana like really, cheering in the back, and I'm like, we can't miss this reaction. Like, let's put it back. And we have last closing remarks from Connie, and we've got Alicia with the next guest after.
Okay, I'm going to be very short because both Diana and Margaret were fabulous in their answers. I'm just going to say, just do it.
Do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
It's the Nike ad, and you will not achieve anything if you don't try. And there's a beautiful saying, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So it's so difficult to push beyond your comfort zone. I don't know if you got that.
Say it one more time.
Oh, did I cut out? Oh, the whole answer?
No,
just the end.
Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. So just do it. Have the courage to try.
Wow. Thank you so much, Diana, Connie, and Margaret.
Thank you.
The conversation that you three just had, I think, was as much inspirational as much as it was motivational to actually take action, as much as it was a reminder that everyone's stories matter and that everyone is meant to hold space and to take space and to advocate, right? Like Diana, we started with you sharing about how you kept wanting to create a program, a junior program at the Magic Castle. And you just kept sharing it and voicing it until you were able to find a collaborator and a partner to actually make it happen, right? And Margaret, as you share about the story that, or the book that you were working on, and Adelaide's experiences about just, she knew she was more, right? Like she knew that she was a dancer. She wanted to show up and do more. And Connie, the way that you capture storytelling and you really highlight what it is that people are doing to be bold and take up space, I just want to honor and recognize that, because I think it was moving. At least I know, I won't speak for others. It was truly moving for me. And I know that our audience, or I hope rather that our audience really, really heard between the lines and captured the essence of what it was that you all were sharing in that segment. Thank you so much.
Hello and welcome to the Los Angeles Tribune. Since 1886, our name has been a part of the world of journalism. We've earned a reputation for being a publication that practices integrity, authenticity, and responsibility.